Hi, St. Veronica's. This is Miss McGovern from the Science Lab, and I'm here to tell you how you can ace the first version of your science fair report, sections 1 through 7. Now, this assignment is due Friday, November 9th by 11:59 p.m. in Google Docs. So you still have a week to work on this and get it all right according to the rubric. The rubric really explains it step by step. So if you follow this as your checklist, you cannot go wrong, okay? To date, everything has been pretty much for completion, and now it's time to go back and polish it up. You should have already written your materials and procedures, and now we're going back to the title page. Hi, let's get started. So here's a picture of the science fair report. And as we go along, you're going to see some things highlighted in yellow. That means you've previously worked on them, but now is time for the revisions. Again, revisions are due this Friday by 11:59 p.m. Things highlighted in green are those that are new, that are due this week. And things are in blue are my examples using the Mentos in soda type experiment. All right, so let's go through the rubric. First thing on the rubric says the student used Google Doc template provided. Everyone seems to be good that we're communicating in Google Docs, so that's an easy 4 points for you. The heading and text are in correct format. Just make sure that if you're typing, it is in gray. Only the heading should be in that burnt orange. Everything else that you write should be in gray. If it's not, then it's not in normal text, and I'll show you how you can go in and fix it from being in a heading back to normal text, okay? That's an easy fix, but you need to see me during the week to get that fixed. You need to make sure that all of this is in Times New Roman 12, and the new thing this week is to make sure that you have that picture there at the center of your front page. So type in your testable question, insert your image, make sure you write your first last name, your class section, like 8A, and then your due date, November 9th, 2018. That can be unhighlighted at this point. So anything that's in yellow on your original version, you can unhighlight for this version. Going back to your introduction, this is where you started, to write an opening statement to catch the reader's attention. Now that you've done your procedures, there's 3 parts to this paragraph that you really need to have. First, state your reason why you're interested in this project. That goes in that first sentence. Or you can come up with a catchy question to spark their interest in your paper. Second, you're going to briefly explain how you're going to do the experiment by stating your procedure in 1 sentence. Then you're going to wrap up the paragraph by stating what you hope to learn or what you think you can share with others by doing this project. Here's an example using the Mentos and Diet Coke. Have you ever seen someone drop Mentos in a bottle of soda and liquid spray up in the air? I'm going to drop Mentos into different kinds of soda and measure how high the beverage sprays in the air. The purpose of my experiment is to determine which type of soda causes the biggest reaction, learn why this occurs. By someone reading this introduction, they really know exactly what I'm going to do and what I hope to learn from it. They also should be pretty interested because they know this is a cool experiment, right? Go on to your question. So, according to the rubric, it says that introduction catches readers' attention, briefly describes the procedure, and states the purpose. You want to get an easy 4 there. Your testable problem is clearly written. That means your testable question or the problem you're stating. We write these as a how question. How will combining Mentos with different carbonated beverages affect how high the soda sprays in the air? Well, if you're doing a comparison in one of the 6th grade projects, you probably want to start with the word which instead of how, since you're only comparing 2 things. So you could write it, which type of carbonated beverage will have the greatest reaction with Mentos? This is a 1 question, not 2 questions, and discover why. You're just asking how, and it needs to end with a question mark. Let's go on then to the hypothesis. The rubric for the hypothesis says that it's written as if blank, then blank. It also says a hypothesis statement includes reasoning by stating because or this prediction is based on blank. Okay, those are the 2 things you got to have. So everyone's done a pretty good job writing if blank, then blank. Make sure you're picking a specific variation of your independent variable as a winner. Okay, you're picking one thing that you're then predicting will win. You also want to make sure you're writing in 3rd person. Do not write I or you, if I do this or if you do this. This is in 3rd person. After that if blank then blank, you need to write either because or research shows that blank, right? So here's an example to let them know not only what the hypothesis statement is, but also your reasoning why. If 2 Mentos are added to Diet Coke, then the liquid in the bottle of Diet Coke will spray higher than Sprite or root beer. That's my one sentence hypothesis. Then I go on to explain why I think this is true. This prediction is based on research that shows diet soda produces bigger reaction with Mentos because the aspartame in Diet Coke lowers the surface tension on the Mentos more than syrup or corn syrup in non-diet sodas such as Sprite or root beer. As a result, the bubbles in Diet Coke form more rapidly on the surface of Mentos, rise to the top of the liquid spraying out of the bottle. That's a lot of reason explaining why. Okay, but I'm going to go into greater detail when I do research. This can just be one simple sentence. This prediction is based on research that shows the aspartame in Diet Coke will make a bigger reaction. Okay, it can be very, very easy, or you can go in a little bit more detail. It's up to you. But you are going to write a summary of your research in the coming weeks, so don't try to write it all there in your hypothesis statement. Your research section is a change this week, okay? You need to go in and look at each source, and at the end of the text or the facts from that source, you need to write the author's name or the name of the article, something that will help your reader tie that sentence to the citation in your works cited. So here I took a 7th grader's research page, and she started out with a Science Buddies article. Then she had an article written by an author named Opart, another one that came from Kenyon College, and one from Science Line. So at the end of each of her little summaries, she's going to include those sources at the end. Then to really clean it up this week, you're going to take that, highlight it, you're going to hit cut or copy and then cut later. You're going to scroll down to your works cited page, and you are then going to paste it right in. Here it is, Science Buddies, experiment procedure, and all that. The Virtual Chem book by Opart was her second source. Kenyon College wrote Serial Dilutions, and USB Science wrote her 4th article. So all that long information there, so that she can later write her MLA format, is now in works cited. On Friday, your research section should just look like this. Facts from source 1, source 2, source 3, and source 4 with the name at the end in parentheses. Okay, and this will make sure you do a really good job when it comes to citations. Section 5 is your experimental design. How did you design this experiment? Again, just like in your intro, you're going to briefly explain to them what's coming. Okay, they're not going to want to really probably read all your procedures unless they're doing your experiment. So this is your chance to tell them what you're doing. In 2 to 3 sentences, explain the design of your experiment and general procedure. So here's my example. In this experiment, 2 Mentos will be placed in a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke. As soon as the reaction occurs, the Diet Coke will spray out of the bottle and the highest height will be recorded. The same steps will be followed to test the reaction with Sprite and root beer. 3 trials with each of the carbonated beverages will be completed for this project. Just something real to the point. Again, 3rd person, explaining, summarizing your procedures. Independent, dependent variable. If you didn't get this right before, you got credit for completion, but I may have said you need to go do some revisions. In this experiment, the independent variable is generally the type of liquid. The dependent variable, how high is it going to spray? My variations of my independent variable are Diet Coke, root beer, and Sprite. Things I'm going to keep constant. I'm going to keep the amount of soda constant, 2 Mentos, the number of Mentos for each drop. The size of the container is always going to be a 2-liter bottle. The temperature of the soda and the temperature outside. Anything that could mess up my experiment or cause other variations. These are things you want to keep the same so that nothing else happens. The only thing changing in my experiment is the type of liquid. Now, length of time for each experiment. Here, you're just making a guess. I'm thinking it's going to take about 15 minutes to do this, and I'm going to do it 3 times. After you do your actual experiment, you can always come back and say, wow, that actually took me an hour, and I had to do it 3 times. But for the first draft here, you just make an educated guess on that one. For your materials, remember you want to write specific quantities, 1 tablespoon, 250 milliliters, and then a description of the item. And for procedures, steps 1 through however many you need to do, always starting with a verb, never using then, after, you, I, or any of those words. Be concise, clear, and detailed. You do your procedures. Again, if you need to add a row, you right click and it'll say insert row below. Boom, you insert that row. Okay, so then you should go back through your rubric and say, okay, have I done everything on this page, right? There's, again, 2 pages. And the last one talks about writing style and grammar. Is the text written in complete sentences with proper capitalization, spelling, and punctuation? Is the text free of grammatical errors? Is the paper written in third person other than that introduction? And is the paper generally well written, clear, and professional? Okay, you want to make sure this is a science report, so it's a little more formal than some of your other essays you may have written. But it's really easy. There's a place for everything, and I hope that this video helps you see that it's all laid out. As long as you follow that rubric, you can get a 100 test grade for this draft. And it's due November 9th by 11:59 p.m. in Google Docs. Please contact me if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.